I'm Margaret Ann Windsor. The name I have to use is Peggy Ann Dempsey. I'm married to Childers, so it's Peggy Ann Childers I have to use. This was an endorsement made in April of '84 by Hustler magazine Larry Flint. I had been at his home in October of '83 during a political campaign, and he says in here that I know who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia in '78. I was living at Moonraker doing a book on mind control, which was the Tesla files that were stolen. Well, I don't know if this is doing any good. Here, they were stolen in 1943. I thought it. No. The FBI, the Tesla files, 1943. They were stolen in 1930. Anyway, I've got that down. You can't read it there. This is my father, Edward VIII. He never married Wallace Simpson. This is his brother, George VI of the Illuminati. After they took my father down with character assassination, they appointed, this is the Illuminati Freemasons, appointed his brother, George VI, who would go along with it as king. How's that? They are with Roosevelt, Illuminati, FDR, planning my kidnapping. This was 1939, the year I was born, kidnapping 41. Roosevelt, appointed Joe Kennedy, U.S. ambassador to England, for the purpose of taking my father down. He was made king in 1936. He never married Wallace Simpson. She married a double. This is just one of the imposters. And my father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe from Madison, Wisconsin. And here they're saying Megan's the only American that, well, they're not legit. Obviously, Elizabeth and her father are war criminals and illegal. So anyway, this made where the Illuminati came to power after they took my father down, illegal treaties, and the United Nations, which is a front, was formed up in Rockefeller headquarters, New York City, and United Nations, the national global government, Illuminati. Now then, I was writing about mind control murders when Mr. Flint was shot, and I told about Timothy McVeigh when that happened, the Oklahoma City bombing, and he says here, someone sent this book to me. This is after I'm living on the Appalachian Trail up here and had done the book. And anyway, that in '78 and almost killed April Fool's Day of '80. Anyway, it tells about Timothy McVeigh and him stating that the U.S. military put a chip, computer chip up his buttocks. It turns out I didn't know, well, I found out about my kidnapping. This is Plantable Biochips by Tex Mars or Jim Mars. I get them confused. This is Project Lucid, the name of the book. Now, they talk about end times, here prophecies and chipping people. I didn't know that mine writing back then was going to lead to the Illuminati and finding out who kidnapped me and all that. And then I'm writing about chipping people. And the reason I'm making this, and I may have to sit down, I'm going to show you this, so maybe I can do it sitting down. Excuse me, but I can't. Got to sit. I'm going to turn this around just a minute. I don't think I can do this, stand up here this long. I'm having, oh God, here's Meghan Markle. You just can't, I don't know. I may have to do this over. I'm sitting here. Well, here's one I want to talk about. Watts, this man right here. Chris Watts. I've already said that he was one of them that was mind control. Killed his kids and his wife. And recently, and I believe it was Colorado. On Dr. Phil this afternoon, they had Scott Peterson and asking if he needed a new trial. He's on death row. I've told this over and over about Scott Peterson was a mind control murder. I'm just going to show you a few things here. And on the other video I just put up, I made a mistake in one of the names. I was telling about, I don't know if you can see this or not, I guess it doesn't matter, but I hate to put it up so bad, but I just couldn't stand up. Yeah, Gabby Gifford was a congresswoman married to astronaut Mark Kelly. He was a twin to Scott Kelly. That's my son's name. Mark is the heir after me. His grandfather is Edward VIII. Was a legal king, wouldn't sell out to the Illuminati. They took him down. Took my mother out, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, from Madison, Wisconsin. Now then, this is where in, where was it? Phoenix? No, where did this happen? Was it Phoenix, Arizona? Well, I didn't know. No, Tucson. It was in Tucson. It was Arizona anyway. But this, Gabby Gifford was at a speech rally for herself, U.S. Congresswoman, and she's married to Mark Kelly, identical twin to Scott Kelly. Now, Scott Kelly was up on the space lab doing tests and all this for a year, over a year. When he came back, his DNA was changed, which is, I think they said, odd, quite odd. Anyway, they're twins, so this whole thing gets into twins and anyway, mind control and all this stuff. And Miss Gifford came out later trying to get gun control. I can't understand why there's so many people, when I've told this personally myself, maybe people haven't told these were done, mind control was used and they're done in murders. But that's what they do with them, for God's sake. Anyway, Mark and Scott were twins and identical twins. And Gabby Gifford was Mark's wife, and she was shot, and it was mind control shooting. It was done in patterns. Now I'm going to put this down because I made a mistake a while ago. I was talking about Scott Peterson, and when I mentioned this murders of that happened with Gabby Gifford in her campaign and her being shot, I called Mark's twin Scott Peterson. I didn't mean that. I was out at Scott Peterson several times, many times, and the reason they won't let mine, it's in Pattern's name, and had a letter from the FBI back when I was doing the book. It was dated on my father's birthday, June the 23rd. Of course, it was 79 when I got the letter, and he was, my father and mother were still alive and married to each other October the 20th of 86. This whole thing was a lie and a takedown. Now, I'm going to show you this because this is Scott Peterson. That was done in programming, mind control, patterns. Scott Peterson is innocent. Amber Fry, I'm just going to get her name, where the Amber comes from, that he was supposed to have this illicit affair with and all this. There's mind control used in this. I tried to tell people back then, and who was it? Adam's Law. I told his father, I don't know if he got the letter. What? I shouldn't start this. I'm listening to it. They have just heartbreaking of Megan's dad. My father was the kid. Look, they're showing Elizabeth. She's playing it for all it's worth here. Well, I should redo this. All their finery. And everybody just can't get enough of them. And here's Samantha. You got to wait. If you hear all this, you got to hear where Samantha plays into all this. That's the half-sister of Megan. And oh my God. I don't know if this is a prelude to telling the truth, I don't know. Elizabeth is illegal. The whole bunch of them are. Anyway, um, Adam's Law, that was when Walsh. Now, his father was the one that he was murdered. And his father was the one that was on television and fighting for law and order and all this. This is Watts here. Supposedly, he's going to be for life, a lifer. For killing his wife and $2 an unborn child. And today on Dr. Phil's, after they were doing the Scott Peterson, he mentioned that someone had made the connection to this man being programmed, and that's very similar. It was programming. My God, if you even listened to it, but it was similar in that it's mind control, like the Scott Peterson. But when they're talking about Megan's Law, well, the Amber Alert is what I was trying to get on here. Too, that was the children who have been abducted, and a lot of the people that did the abducting was programmed and to abduct certain children, and they were done in patterns. So I'm not going to go any further on that. Now, this is one here. Well, let me do this one. It's going to slide off, and I don't want it to. And I hope you can get this. I can't do this. I can't stand up. I'm tired. You can't read this, and I wanted you to. But anyway, this is one of the murders, and this is the murders happened right after August the 14th of 2009. And a state trooper brought me down off the mountain where I was camping to get away from, I have an autoimmune disorder. I'm allergic to chemicals, toxic fumes when they're deliberately put on me, just as they were up there. This is where I was at up on top of the mountain back then was a national park. And you would think it would be safe. Well, for me it wasn't. I won't go into the other things happen when I'd run from one place to the other trying to get fresh air. Because it causes mass inflammation for me when it tears your lungs and your liver and your kidneys and heart. I have heart from it, problems. But you have to get away from it. There's no cure. It makes your immune system attack itself. And you just have to get away from the fumes you're inhaling. Anyway, right after the state trooper brought me down, and his wife said to me, "This is how we run you with chemicals." Well, that night somebody had poured kerosene all over my tent. They brought me down, and these murders happened right after then. And I put it up once, and when I apologize, I mean I'm sorry for what happened to their children. I was in all of this, and then, I thought people should know if their son was put, or daughter, they're not committing these crimes. They're programmed. When you're programmed, it's in the people doing the programming and the motives there. That's why they can't find motives, and they know this. Okay, this was... my last name and my husband's name's Childers. Well, this is, by the way, you get into the Rothschilds and all this stuff that kidnapped me. Last of their name is Childs. But you get into a lot of stuff that gets to be too much of a coincidence. Anyway, Heidi Childs was the daughter of the state trooper Childs, not the one that brought me down. His name is not that. This happened right after then. And this is where they were students. Her friend, they were both going to Virginia Tech, next door here in Blacksburg. And this is the Jefferson National Park. Washington or Jefferson, I think it's Jefferson. Anyway, it's in the forestry. They'd gone out there for lunch or something, and they were actually gunned down, and I don't think there's anybody ever even been charged in it. Actually, it was a programmed, done in patterns. her name was Heidi Child, and his was Don Metzer, and his father was a doctor. It's in Jefferson National Forest. Remember, I lived in the forest for a long time up here, winter and freezing and everything. Anyway, you can't see this part, but it's part of it that are where they will kill. Um, that has to do with the patterns. Well, the father's name was Childs, and his wife's name was Laura. That's my husband, John Childers. Um, well, his sister's name is Laura Childers. Childs, take off on Childers. But there's more to it here, and I can't see. Going to hell in a handbasket's what I used to say. Excuse me. It seems to be me that's. Anyway, this is where they were shot, and I don't mean to laughing at anything about it. The pain that their father and mother have gone through. And it's very sad that it all happened. Anyway, I've shown you that. I don't usually get that one out. This is, I did want to show you this though. This is one of them that, the thing I was trying to tell it is mind control has nothing to do with mental illness, absolutely nothing. Programming is done at a low level. You're not where you're getting, and you certainly don't give your, um, agree to have it done to you. You don't even know that it's going on. And by now, I was telling this in '76, and it had been going on. Well, the Tesla files. King Ferdinand was programmed. They were programmed to shoot him, and Sophia, Queen Sophia, his wife, back in years and years ago. So George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, was shot. And, well, I put this on the prior tape. I just wanted to make the correction that I called Scott Kelly, the twin to Mark Kelly. I called Scott, I meant to say, instead of Scott Peterson, I meant to say Scott Kelly. Anyway, this is the Century City Theater outside it. By the way, Alexis Murphy, one of the murders that happened here, her car was left parked at a movie theater over here, and they've never found her body, but there's a man that's in prison for killing her. Okay, let me, it was mind control. Some of these can be proven. That's the reason they were done in patterns. They're not going to tell it unless in Scott Peterson that he's granted a new trial. He had a good attorney, Mark Garrigus. He just couldn't bring it into court. Anyway, this is James Holmes. You can't see the picture, but. And there was quite a few. If you ever got the names of the people that were in this theater, you get into, they can bring people together and they don't even know they're being programmed to come together like this. And it would prove it if you could, in like the Virginia Tech over here. It's odd. But anyway, James Holmes was found guilty, and he was put in a mental hospital where they're treating him for mental illness. If this, which is a lie, this is one of the most horrible injustice that can be done to somebody. Talk about civil rights. Where have your civil rights groups all been in this? Where have your doctors, lawyers, and all these people they go to when these murders happen, like Columbine and all that I'm talking about? They go and get all these professionals to tell them what, like the Las Vegas